Last night you noticed something strange. A bird, not flying, not calling, just standing there, watching you. It didn't blink. It didn't move. Just staring longer than felt normal. At first you ignored it, just a bird, right? But then seconds turned into minutes, and that quiet, unmoving gaze started to feel intentional. Here's what most people don't realize: when a bird locks its eyes on you without moving, it's not random, it's not meaningless. And the longer it happens, the less ordinary it becomes, because stillness in nature is never empty. It always means something. This is where it gets interesting. The first thing you need to understand is that birds rarely stay still for long. They're built for motion, constant scanning, quick reactions, sudden flight. So when one stops completely and focuses on you, that's already unusual. It's an observation worth paying attention to. Sometimes this behavior comes from pure awareness. Birds have incredibly sharp vision and heightened survival instincts. When they sense something unfamiliar, they freeze, not out of fear alone, but to study, to analyze. You might think you're just standing there, but to that bird, you are very. Are you there? It hasn't solved yet. And in that moment, you become its entire focus. But that's not the real reason it feels so unsettling. Because when something watches you without reacting, your mind starts filling in the gaps. You begin to project intention where there might be none. You wonder, why hasn't it flown away? Why is it still here? Why me? And that question is where the shift begins. The second thing most people overlook is repetition. One glance is nothing, but if this happens again and again, that's when patterns form. Maybe it's the same bird, same spot, same time of day. Just watching, not approaching, not retreating, just there. Here's what most people don't realize: the human brain is wired to detect patterns for survival. When something repeats without explanation, your brain flags it. Not consciously at first, but deep down something feels off. And that feeling isn't random. Birds are creatures of habit. They return to places that feel safe. So if one keeps choosing your space, your window, your presence, it means something about that environment has registered with it. Maybe it feels secure, maybe it's curious, or maybe it's responding to subtle movement. You don't even notice yourself. But here's where it gets deeper. Sometimes it's not about the bird at all, it's about you. The third point, and this is where it starts to shift, is perception. When you feel watched, your awareness sharpens, your senses heighten. You start noticing things you would normally ignore. The silence around you feels louder. Time slows slightly. Your thoughts become more focused, and sometimes more uneasy. This isn't coincidence, it's psychology. When something holds your gaze, especially without movement, it creates tension. A quiet, unresolved tension. Your mind doesn't like unresolved things, so it starts searching for meaning, even creating it if necessary. But that's not the real reason this moment stays with you. Because there's a fourth layer: instinct. Humans, like animals, still carry ancient instincts. One of them is the awareness of being observed. Long before language, before logic, there was the simple feeling of something is watching me, and that feeling kept people alive. So when a bird stares at you in complete stillness, it taps into that old system, that quiet alertness, that subtle unease. And you might not even understand why, but you feel it. Now here's where it becomes even more interesting. The fifth point is timing. When does this happen? During the day, surrounded by noise, or at night, when everything is still? Because at night, the effect changes completely. The silence amplifies everything, darkness removes distractions. And suddenly, that one small moment feels much bigger. A bird staring at you in daylight is strange. A bird staring at you in silence, at night, feels different, more intense, more personal. And here's what most people don't realize: your brain processes nighttime experiences more emotionally. That's why things feel heavier, more meaningful, sometimes even more mysterious. But that's still not the full picture, because the sixth point is duration. How long does it last? A few seconds, or longer than you're comfortable with. The longer it continues, the more it breaks your expectations. Attention increases. You stop thinking about anything else. You're just there, with it. And in that moment, something shifts inside you. You're no longer just observing the world, you feel like part of it. Like you've been pulled into some quiet, something still, something watching back. But here's where it takes another turn. The seventh point is your reaction. Do you move away, or do you keep looking? Because the longer you hold that connection, the more real it feels. And that's where the experience becomes personal, just a motor, something that lingers. And this is where it gets unsettling, because the eighth point is memory. Moments like this don't fade easily, they stay. Not because they're dramatic, but because they're unresolved. There's no clear explanation, just a quiet question that remains. Why did it feel that way? And why do you keep thinking about it? Your mind doesn't like unfinished stories, so it keeps returning to them, replaying them, trying to make sense of something that felt simple, but didn't feel normal. And then there's the final point, the one most people don't expect. Sometimes the meaning isn't in the bird's behavior, it's in your awareness of it. Out of thousands of moments in your day, this is the one that stood out. This is the one you noticed, the one that made you pause, that made you question something deeper. And that says more than anything else, because attention is never random. What you notice reflects something within you, a shift, a sensitivity, a moment where you were fully present, whether you realized it or not. And maybe that's why it felt different, not because the bird was unusual, but because for a brief moment, you were still there, just like it. And that's the part most people miss. So the next time it happens, and it might, don't look away immediately. Notice how long it lasts. Notice how it makes you feel. Sometimes the smallest, quietest moments are the ones that stay with you the longest. And if you've ever experienced something like this, a bird watching you, not moving, just there, let me know. Because moments like these might seem small, but they're rarely forgotten.